Hi, I'm Nancy Blotner. At Caldwell University, we believe that all citizens should be informed about the important issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Russell Berry Foundation, making a difference, RWJ Barnabas Health, the law firm of Gibbons PC, New Jersey Resources, Caldwell University, ADP, a comprehensive provider of human resources technology and services, and by Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, small news, big news, true Jersey. And by New Jersey Family Magazine and NJFamily.com.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at it.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Hopefully I have some good questions on this edition of One-on-One. I'm pleased to be joined by Brian Carovillano, who is managing editor, Associated Press. Good to have you with us.
Thanks. Good to be here.
For those who don't know what the AP is, go ahead. It is?
The AP is an independent news agency that is a membership cooperative of U.S. news organizations, but we cover the world in a totally nonpartisan way. And we are in 250 locations around the world, including places that no other news organization is really present, like North Korea and Iran. We are in all 50 states, including all 50 state houses. And our content appears in 15,000 news outlets around the world and reaches, by some estimates, half the world's population.
We're taping in the fall of 2019, early in October. It is, in fact, the anniversary of the murder, the assassination of a Washington Post columnist in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. Significant, that murder, that assassination, the lack of a follow-up in the context of how journalism is seen, not just in this country and viewed by the Trump administration, but also around the world. Am I conflating things there?
Yeah, it's a horrific tragedy. Standing on its own, the Khashoggi murder is a terrible thing that happened, that a journalist was targeted and murdered for his work, and specifically for his work as a columnist, as an opinion columnist that was seen by the Saudi government as critical of the government.
And the CIA in our country said it was them.
Yeah, there's a lot of intelligence that indicates that it was them. I don't think even Mohammed bin Salman is denying that his government carried out the murder. He's just saying that he had nothing to do with it. So taken on its own, it's a horrific tragedy. Taken as part of a larger global trend about how journalism is viewed by governments and by extension by people around the world, it's part of this really troubling trend over the last decade or so, which certainly didn't begin with the Trump administration, in which public trust in news media has been on the decline. There's plenty of data to show that. And I think what we're seeing now is that leaders around the world feel more emboldened to treat journalists in ways that were unthinkable even a generation ago. And it's part of that trend. It's perhaps the most extreme or one of the most extreme extensions of that trend. But it's not unique to Saudi Arabia or to Turkey or to any of the places.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Let's put this in context. I'm thinking about the 2016 presidential campaign and on. Mm-hmm. And believe what you will, like the president, don't like the president, it's your business. We are here to ask tough questions and look at the facts and try to make sense of them. When the president started during the campaign to turn around in a rally with thousands of people, 20,000 people, point at the media and say they are the enemy of the people, they are fake news, and in some people's eyes, communicated a message that being hurtful to them, physically and any other way, fair game, unfair characterization?
Well, I don't want to get too much into the characterization, but I think it's scary.
No,
because
my characterization, he said they're the enemy of the people.
Right.
He said what they say is a lie, and they are our enemy in this country.
And it's rhetoric that we're not used to hearing in this country. We cover, as I said earlier, the world, and we operate in some very dangerous places, and we have to send journalists into those places with equipment to ensure their safety, things like flak jackets and helmets and that sort of thing. We now, for a variety of reasons, are having the same kind of conversations about covering events that happen in this country that we are in the southern Philippines or in Afghanistan or even in Yemen. And I never thought that we'd get to that point, but that's the situation that we're in. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Are we responsible in any way in the media for how a significant number of folks feel about us and don't trust us?
Sure. I mean, I think some of the media's wounds are absolutely self-inflicted. I think the race to the polls, in terms of, everybody's on one side or the other, the value of nonpartisan, straight-down-the-middle journalism doesn't seem to be seen as much of as a revenue producer as producing opinion-focused journalism.
People yelling at each other on the air with two extreme polar points of view. And no disrespect to our friends at CNN, MSNBC, Fox, whoever, but I know what we're going to get there.
Right.
I mean, does that help?
Well,
does that help having...
It's part of this, this has been going on for a long time, and it's part of a larger trend. And I think Trump and other world leaders have capitalized on what was already happening, which was a decline in public trust in the media, and they saw an opportunity there to capitalize on it, and they've done a good job of that. And I think it's accelerated and it's advanced the decline in public trust in the media. And I think there have been plenty of instances in which the media hasn't necessarily helped itself, and I think that goes back a couple decades. But there are hundreds of thousands of good journalists around the world who are doing their jobs, often putting their lives at risk because they believe in the mission. And they believe that the most important thing to do at times like this, when you're faced with relentless criticism, is stay the course and do what you do, and believe that that will make a difference over time.
And the AP, the credibility of your organization.
I mean, the AP is at the center of that. I mean, we feel like our credibility is all we have. We don't sell newspapers. We don't broadcast shows. We don't sell advertising for the most part. And our business is built on credibility. And so to trade that in at any given point, it's something you could never get back. And we talk about that, and we think about that all the time. Do we get it right 100% of the time? No. Sometimes we make mistakes just like everybody else does. But I would say we are relentlessly nonpartisan, and we try to be as fair as we possibly can in our journalism. But that's not the same as the sort of both sidesism that you sometimes see out there, which is like, here's one side of the story, here's the other side of the story. Usually somewhere in there is the truth, and what we try to get at is the truth.
We're talking with Brian Carovillano, who is managing editor, Associated Press, if you're listening on the radio side, audio side. Question, social media. A lot of people say, hey, listen, I don't need the AP. I don't need public broadcasting. I don't need the New York Times. I can get what I need on the internet, social media. I get all the information I want and need, you say?
Yeah, look, there's plenty of credible information on social media, most of it provided by news organizations that are investing in news gathering. So if you're going to use social media to get your news, you should still be aware of what are the brands you trust, who are the reporters you trust, what are the names of the people that you feel like are accurate sources of information, and what are those organizations. And if you're getting them on social media, fine, but if you're accessing just sort of random rants from your crazy uncle on social media, that's probably not a credible source of information, right?
Or looking for information that just reinforces what I think.
Right.
Listen, before I let you go, Brian, talk about this climate change series.
Yeah, the AP employs some of the world's greatest photo and visual journalism. If you look at some of the most iconic images in history, a lot of them are shot by AP photojournalists. And what we've decided to do this year is really turn them loose on the story of climate and the environment in a way that we never have before, to just try and tell the story visually and in pictures and in video instead of in a whole lot of text, because a lot of climate coverage seems to be really easy for people to tune out. It's undeniably, in my opinion, the most important story of our time. The most important story of our time. This is our planet. And yet, journalism on climate has not done particularly well with audiences because we've had 30 years of doomsday prognostications, and it's easy for people to tune that out. They feel like they can do nothing about it. So our series, which is called What Can Be Saved, leans into two things.
What Can Be Saved is the name of the series.
What Can Be Saved, yeah, leans really heavily into two things. One is, as I said, stunning visual experiences and the people in the places where they live who are trying to do something about the crisis in their place. And so it's a people story, it's a visual story, it's really worth checking out. It's pretty spectacular journalism.
Brian's got it right. In many people's eyes, this is, in fact, the issue of our times. And even though some folks are playing catch up, we appreciate what the AP is doing. Here in public broadcasting, we're very much involved in comprehensive coverage of climate change. And also the folks at NJ.com and North Jersey Media, check them out. They're doing it as well. But again, we have a lot of work to do. Brian, I want to thank you for joining us. And to you and your colleagues at the Associated Press, who every day go out there and report the news with no agenda, no point of view, No objective other than to help our country be as strong as it can be with a strong media. We thank you.
Yep, thank you. It's good to be here.
Same here. I'm Steve Adubato. This is One on One. We'll be right back.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're pleased to welcome Brett D'Alessandro, president and founder of an organization called Backpacks for Life, and Alexa Modero, VP and co-founder of Backpacks for Life. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
First of all, tell folks what your service was to this country, and in advance, we'll thank you.
I appreciate that. So I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years, and I was a motor T, and I was in a reserve unit up in Rhode Island. That's where Alexa and I met. We're going to school there, and they asked who wanted to volunteer to go to Afghanistan. So I raised my hand, and I was on my way to Camp Lejeune and with CLB 6, and that's who we deployed to Afghanistan with.
And what does that have to do with Backpacks for Life?
Backpacks for Life. So it started when I got back from Afghanistan. It was a really rough deployment. I didn't know who to turn to or where to go. There wasn't like a manual on how to rehabilitate yourself when you had a traumatic experience when you're overseas on a deployment. And so Alexa and I, we thought of Backpacks for Life. It came from when they put me on medical hold when I was up in Rhode Island, and I was going to a doctor's appointment up there, and I saw a guy with a sign, "Homeless vet, please help me out." So I went back to my hotel, I got a backpack, filled out with warm layers, and gave it to the guy.
You did that?
Yes, yes.
Out of instinct?
I thought he needed a backpack and with some supplies and stuff. And so we talked a little bit. That was really it. About 3 days later, I saw him again, and he was with a little boy. So I pulled over to the side of the road, and before I could get a word out, the little boy said, "Thank you so much for the backpack. I no longer have to go to school carrying my books in my hands." And the dad said, "Thank you so much for the warm layers. They even keep my wife, who's sick at the homeless shelter, warm." And at that point, I was like, I found my purpose again. I know what I have to do. I want to make sure every veteran out there has the resources they need, because I didn't know where to turn to, and I had family. I had great assets to help me out, and imagine somebody who's out there with nothing. So I wanted to make it my purpose again to make sure they're not forgotten.
Alexa, talk about what's in that backpack.
Yeah, so each backpack we fill with toiletries, your full-size shampoos, conditioners, soaps, and supplies. So your ponchos, your first aid kits, the things that you and I maybe don't think about every day, but are very crucial to someone who's in and out of shelters, living on the streets. And then the most important item is resource information. So information about programs, solutions, and care, depending on what the veteran might need. And that's that first line of defense, to hand a backpack out and say, "You are not alone. We care for you, and how can we help you beyond the backpack?"
We'll look at the backpack in just a moment. In fact, let's pull it up.
Yeah.
Elvin, can we take this shot? I promise I won't screw it up. Is that the shot? Does that work? As we're looking at the backpack, talk to us. What is this a backpack? This backpack, what is it a symbol for?
It's a symbol for hope that you can get better. There's, we can give our resources to our veterans, but if they don't have the will or the want or that hope to get better, they just can't possibly get better. So we want to make sure we give them the resources, but give them the will to want to get better with that hope.
Is it worse for homeless veterans?
I mean, there's homeless veterans and there's veterans who are at risk of being homeless, and that number is frequently larger. And coincidentally, recently, the number of female veterans that are homeless is growing faster than the male homeless veteran population. So, I mean, it's a multitude of things, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution for every single veteran.
By the way, I know Jen Eichlin, our executive producer, we're putting up the website of your organization, Backpacks for Life. Tell folks, when they go on that website, A, what's there, and B, how can they, more importantly, be helpful?
So there's a lot of information on there. We actually just updated our website, updated our new logo, so the website is really, really sweet. There's just a bunch of places and stuff. You can get involved and do a supply drive. You can do a toiletry drive, or you could do a packing event. You can donate a monetary value donation on there. You could just reach out. We've had some really cool people reach out, just wanted to give just all different kinds of things, like little knitting. They're called soap socks, and they put a soap inside like a little knitted packet, and the vets can use those. So we've had some really cool people reach out, there's
How rewarding? How rewarding for you?
It's like my holistic medicine. That's why I continue to do it. I was in a rough spot. I was a recovering alcoholic and addict. I had nowhere to turn to. A year prior, I was in college. I was a corporal in the Marines. And fast forward, I couldn't even get a haircut of having a mental breakdown. So this is my everything. I love it.
You dealt with PTSD.
That is correct.
You know, people just hear that acronym. Oh, someone's depressed, they served. It'll pass, you say.
I think it's kind of that post-traumatic stress disorder. I think it's just anxiety. People think it's something like monstrous or something like, ooh, that person, you know, we got to be careful around them. It's natural. I think you should get PTSD from what you've dealt with over there because that's natural. And if you didn't, then you should, that's something we should worry about. So having anxiety to something traumatic that you've been through, that is normal. This is the normal thing that is happening. So we shouldn't look at it like it's something negative. And we should really.
It's not a disease.
No, we should support that. I was telling Alexa, I would want to hire somebody who has been through addiction and is overcoming, or who has been through a traumatic experience and is overcoming. Those are the people I want to hire. They've been through the bottom and now they're on top and prospering. Those are the people that are so interesting to me.
You know, you got help and you helped yourself. To what degree is there significant support for vets suffering from PTSD?
I think there's a ton out there. It's just that veterans don't know that it's available to them and in what capacity. There's tons of eligibility requirements, standards, depending on maybe what branch you served in, how you were discharged. So there's just a lot of layers.
Is it complicated? We were talking about this before we got on the air. You said it's not that there aren't enough. How many organizations did you say could be helping vets right now?
There's 43,000 veteran service organizations out there. There's for-profit companies out there. There's government programs. That's not
There's
the
a but coming, but?
That's not the lack of that's not the issue. It's the lack of the know-how. Veterans have no idea where to go and who to turn to. Everyone says VA. Now, don't get me wrong, the VA is a great organization.
Yeah,
great organization.
Great government agency, if you will. But they can't do it all, and they're overwhelmed, and you have to access the system.
Yeah, and I think the VA has started to realize that they want to rely on other veteran service organizations to come in, so we partner with the VA here in New Jersey to provide backpacks to those who are in transition.
So you collaborate?
Yeah.
Real quick before I let you out of here, there's a mentoring program. What is it and why does it matter? I got 30 seconds, go.
Our mentorship program is to help veterans connect the dots. We're the middleman to help them find the right resource at the right time to help them get back on their feet, and that's the critical part that veterans need.
How important is that? Final words, go ahead.
It's unbelievably important. We don't ask them, what do you need? We'll listen to their story because they might not know what's out there. So why would you even ask them what they need? We'll listen to their story, we'll implement resources, and we'll help them execute it. And not, here's some resources, good luck, I'll see you later. CC me on emails, contact me every other day to let me know how you're doing with those people that you're following up with or you're connecting with. Hey, let's go get some food. Let's just hang out. I'll ask some homeless vets, let's just go to the movie theaters, or let's go to Burger King and just hang out. I'm not going to just go right off the bat and say, okay, let's get this going, because during rehabilitation, you have to make them feel like a human again before you can help them access the resources.
You know, it's one thing to say, as so many say, thank you for your service in the military on behalf of our country, but it's quite another to also thank you, to thank both of you for everything you're doing for veterans who are struggling and suffering and looking for a place to get help. Thank you for everything that you do and both of you do. Keep doing good work. Keep us posted.
Thank you.
This is One-on-One, that's One-on-Two, and we'll be right back.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are pleased to be joined by Lauren Wood, who is the founder of Humanly, which is?
It's a digital community engagement platform for people impacted by cancer. Patients, caregivers, nurses, oncologists.
You started this year.
I did.
Because?
I joined an organization called Immunomedics. It's a biopharma out in Morris Plains, and they were very invested in, looking to find and build opportunities to better understand the daily impacts of people impacted by cancer.
And your personal connection. Talk about it.
I lost my mother to cancer 16 years ago yesterday, actually. And it was through that process that I sort of discovered that there was an enormous gap in not only understanding what it was like to live with someone who is navigating life with a disease, but also, how you manage that impact in that moment and that pivotal shift in your life as you kind of move on and grow and live, and how it shows up in very different ways. It's
interesting. It's described as a voice recording. There is a voice recording of stories. We're about to listen to one of those stories and some pictures that go with it. Set this up for us. What are we about to listen to?
So we're about to listen to a submission from one of our community members. It's from parents who lost their son to cancer. And what they're really trying to do is just share more about, again, what their personal experience was by losing their son. Not about the clinical aspects of it, the treatment or the side effects, but really how it impacted their lives.
The human side.
Yes, exactly.
Let's take a listen.
Our son Jake was diagnosed with a rare brain tumor at the age of 2 in 2012. He underwent a 6-hour brain surgery, 14 rounds of chemotherapy, and 28 rounds of radiation. When Jake was 7 years old in 2017, he relapsed, which required him to have another extensive brain surgery, 8 rounds of chemotherapy, and 33 rounds of radiation. We learned a lot about life from Jake's experience. Our family fed off his positive attitude, optimistic outlook, and how he always lived in the present. Jake taught us that no matter what the circumstance is, we have to live in the now, even when the now seems ordinary and quiet, because the present is very special. Jake taught us that it's senseless to think about the past because there's nothing we could do to change it. Jake's young mind also taught us that thinking about the future is pointless because the future is never guaranteed.
So interesting. I mean, part of that was a little about the clinical side, but then they talked about the very human side, right?
Exactly.
How does that help people?
It helps them understand how people think about this disease and the way that they talk about it, and the way that, again, that it shows up in a very emotional way in their lives. I think, many people associate cancer, again, with infusion centers and bald heads, and they're really blinded from understanding the humans behind the disease, and that's very much what we're trying to shed light on.
And undoubtedly there are people watching right now who are either personally dealing with cancer or a family member, someone close. If they wanted to submit a story, and we'll put your website up right now, how could they do it? Could they go on the site?
Yes, you can go online to livehumanly.com. You can also check us out on Instagram or on Twitter. And you can engage in a variety of ways. You can record a submission so someone can hear your voice and actually hear you telling your story, or you can engage with it like you would a Twitter or a Facebook and just type in an entry. And you can share a variety of things, whether it's something that brought you joy, or a memory you have of someone that you lost, or a resource you might have found helpful that helped you navigate life, life with cancer.
What's it done for you?
It's been a very cathartic experience, and I think for me, if anything, it's not only reminded me how prevalent this disease is and that everyone really will interact with cancer at some point in their lives, but it's also been a wonderful and beautiful reminder of how short life is and how much we have to be grateful for, and that there are so many people out in the world who have gone through something similar to what you personally are navigating at any point in time. And to know that that is out there and to find that community is so enriching and encouraging, and it provides, I think, a different level of strength and optimism, and certainly will hopefully drive self-advocacy, searching for answers, searching for more information, and really pushing to get the best care and strive for the best outcome.
It's interesting, and if you don't want to talk about this, it's fine, but you're a very young woman now. You were even younger, much younger when you lost your mom. There was nothing like this for you.
No.
Or family members. Is that in part what has driven you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had no idea where to go for information.
What did you do? I mean, how young were you?
I was about 14. When she passed away, my sister was 9. And so a lot of it was navigated independently on our own.
At 14 and 9? Go ahead. I mean,
It was family. I mean, we were very lucky to have a support network and a support system. And I think, part of what is driving Humanly is to provide that community and this kind of neutral environment for people to share what has happened and how they've reacted to cancer, but also to connect with other people who have gone through something similar. I didn't have that.
Is that you?
It is. And that's Mom.
Before I let you go, tell us something about your mom.
She was an incredibly beautiful person inside and out, and she made it her career to support other people in navigating chronic diseases. And I would love to have the same opportunity to give back to the world in the same way.
That's exactly what you're doing. Rewarding.
Very.
So let's remind folks again, about going on the site.
Yes.
Can we put up the site one more time before we close out this segment? Someone goes on the site, they want to contribute. And again, you said it could be any aspect.
Yep, any aspect. And you can also go on and just browse.
What do you mean?
You can go on, you can see the submissions from other users, other community members. You can see some of the resources they might have posted, whether it's advocacy groups or recipes or books or songs. You know, you can create your own experience as you go on there. And there's no one particular company pushing any particular message. It's very much, you know, by the people, for the people kind of environment. And I hope that it inspires people to share, because by sharing, other people can learn from their experience.
No, and I'm confident you just help an awful lot of people that you will never maybe meet, but your help nonetheless is significant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Catch us next time.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Russell Berry Foundation, RWJ Barnabas Health, the law firm of Gibbons PC, New Jersey Resources, Caldwell University, ADP, and by Kessler Foundation. Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by New Jersey Family Magazine and NJFamily.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
You may not have heard of TAVR. Raj and Sandhya have. It's the minimally invasive alternative to open heart valve replacement. RWJ Barnabas Health is New Jersey's leading TAVR provider, and we continue to perfect it. Patients are often back to their lives in just a few days. Innovative valve replacement surgery, because you can't be replaced. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.